Good morning. Earlier I had to go in for some blood tests at the lab, and from start to finish I had about a 2 hour wait, which on top of fasting and not being able to drink water, it was, I'll call it, onerous. And I had some time, obviously, to kind of consider what was happening in order to create that weight. Because it's not like there was a ton of people. Yes, it was busy there, but just watching the system in place. So they had a number machine. It was this little printer that when you hit the button, it would pop out your number on it. Had a bunch of other information placed about 10 feet from the door. So you walk in, there's a barrier with a small gap. Go through there, there's a ton of seats, and then to the right is a counter with like 4 spots for people. And you would think as you go in and then turn towards the barrier, there'd be a lot of clear signage, but it was only off to the right, behind where the number printer was. Was there any signage? And it was on 8.5 by 11 in fairly small print to say, take a number, then wait, and your number would automatically be called. So there was constantly a flow of people coming in, looking around, going up to the counter, asking what do they do, and then going back and getting a number. In the meantime, other people have gotten numbers ahead of them, sitting down, getting frustrated, and other people who've had numbers and have been waiting, getting frustrated and going up to the counter saying, "Are you still calling numbers?" Which continuously interrupted the entire process, because then they couldn't handle all the paperwork and everything else that they were doing, which again kind of contributed to the wait time. So watching their process, they required paper requisites for the lab, which I don't know if that's standard everywhere. I've been to other labs where you could have it faxed in, you could have it emailed in, you could bring it in on your phone, as long as you had a code for it. I don't know if it was particular to their system. I thought that was pretty cool. But this one you had to have a paper one, so they ended up sending a number of people away while I watched. But once they had that paper one in, then they had to enter that into their computer, and then they had to print out their own paper version of it and give it to the lab techs in the back, of whom there didn't seem to be that many. They would grab their paper version of it along with a big sheet that had a number, and then they would call people out. You go back in and they take your life fluid, jabbing you multiple times. But so I've seen a number of things slow up this process, so that would account for maybe an hour of the wait. The other hour, and this is where I have some frustrations, having come from a retail background, or maybe it was particular to having come from being goal-oriented and competitive and always wanting to serve people best, but also achieve the right results. Watching people who were super deliberately slow, like deliberately, drove me insane. So I would watch people, and it was all of them, it wasn't just one of them, go, slowly take the piece of paper, ponderously look at it, return to their computer to enter it, place the paper in the tray, go to get the printout. At no point was there a fast pace for anything they were doing. Like seriously, no point. And it almost seemed, now maybe this is me reading passive aggressive into what they were doing, but it almost seemed like the more they were asked when numbers were going to be called, the slower they went. Like, this is the way that they were power tripping on all of these people who were waiting. And if you look around, it was a broad spectrum of people. It was all ages, genders, people with and without kids. None of them were happy to be there. So them being power tripped for this particular thing is a type of cruelty that I don't really understand. Like, why would you force people to wait? For what purpose? So that they can give urine and blood samples and leave, so that it can be tested and they can get results about their health. I don't know. Observing in the back with the lab techs, they definitely moved with more purpose. However, there was still a lot of very slow movements. I observed one woman go in circles through the lab 3 times with the same piece of paper on her hand, touching about, 15 different surfaces to no effect. Like, I don't know if that was her way of processing or thinking through things, or I don't know, maybe she's just highly forgetful, or maybe that's just her way of delaying, because the way she just happened to also be holding the number for the chair that I was in. So I definitely noticed that delay. And amazingly enough, she handed that off. So, maybe she just took one look at me and didn't like the idea of coming in to take my blood. But the key point in this was I had to fast overnight, wait 2 hours, fasting throughout that time. I wasn't allowed to drink fluids either. By the end of it, super cranky and thirsty and hungry and pounding headache. Yeah. Glad not to work there, glad not to have to go there very often. Glad to be able to go back home and eat and not do that for a while again. Tomorrow will be a better day. Happy Saturday, everyone.